So a while back, I wanted to build my own electric bike. So since time was a constraint, I decided to put very minimum effort and also not compromise in performance at the same time. So for that, I decided to go with my existing gear bicycle that has a 7-speed chain-driven system. So if I can find a way to mount the motor and make the existing driver the driven, I will have 7 different speed in the end so as to control the RPM and torque depending upon the requirement. This is a speed run on how the project was approached. So I initiated with the PowerPoint to develop a concept on how the motor will be mounted. So the green ones that we have here are basically the brackets, and of course the grey one resembles the motor. Once the two-dimensional image has been integrated into a CAD model, and then after some fine-tuning, we have this. And of course, this is a document to say that what was done next and what was required to be done in the forthcoming sessions. After a little bit of fine-tuning again and rendering, we have this one. Now this was the final design, and the brackets were laser cut with a 4 mm plate, and we have 5 different components here. Once this was manufactured and mounted in real time, it was a pretty decent fit. Basically, my idea was to have a secondary sprocket that was mounted on the primary sprocket with means of adapters and 4 mm bolts and all that. But the reason I did that was the difference in chain pitch, or the sprocket that the motor came with does not accept the chain that is used in the bicycle. And that being said, this is a chain tensioner that was later designed in order to, of course, keep some tension on the chain. But the downside of this design when I was running this was since all of this was measured by hand, and there was some misalignment, there were a lot of wobbling. So in that case, the static chain tensioner did not work. Okay, so there is a small update, and this is the sprocket, that the one that is actually meshing with the chain is the one that we actually got it manufactured after laser cutting and surface grinding with reference to the pitch of this chain, and it's a pretty good fit. And of course, in the forthcoming designs we will have to improvise the structural integrity of it. Right now this is not hardened, this is just a conceptual design, so if just thought if everything works, I would give it for heat treatment and everything. And so far this is the setup we have. The original plan was to have this as the driver for this one, so I thought of making this driven with the motor so that the original transmission or the powertrain setup remains undisturbed. But since this is a very old cycle and there's a lot of usage behind it, there is some wobble, but I think that can be resolved. And of course the motor has to be aligned a little bit more. These are just hand tightened just to make a rough alignment, and we have the chain that is rubbing here. So if we make this driven, and if the chain goes to this sprocket, and when we drive this sprocket with some means via the motor, I think the rubbing of the chain can also be reduced. In that case, this chain tensioner that was also been made will also come into play, because now we will have 2 chains coming into action. So far this is the update, and we also have to make adjustment for the battery mounts. As of now it is just down there, and the ECU is here, and we have the throttle on top. So I'm just gonna run this and document it for future reference. So far this is in the 4th gear, and we'll also be shifting in between. Temperature of the motor is fine. Electronic speed controller is doing well. There is no significant increase in heat as per my observation. And of course we also have to have provisions for that battery, and we will be getting rid of that chain which came with the sprocket, which was ideally designed for this motor, but uh, it just getting very difficult because of very little specification that is available from the website, so it is really not helpful to proceed with any design. So yeah, this is the running video of this working principle. I think I should have recorded a video when this was barely working, which is a very significant improvement. And this is just a documentation of this e-bike. More updates coming soon. Okay, things are all set. Now the cycle is completely intact with all the electronics and power source put in, and now I'm planning to take it up and just give it a short test ride, and hopefully figure out something. So shortly after that, the batteries got discharged and I had to get the vehicle down for charging. Acknowledging the fact that test riding electric prototypes on the terrace or on the roof is not a good idea, I was still desperate to see how the project came out, so I did it anyways. Okay, now we are nearing to the completion. My room is pretty messed up anyway, so right now we have the motor that has been mounted in a completely different orientation. Earlier it was hanging from the bracket, now it is sitting on top, which is how it's supposed to be apparently. And then we have introduced a new spring chain tensioner, elastic chain tensioner, which of course compensates for the vibration and everything, so the chain doesn't slip now. And of course this has to be improvised. Now this is just rubbing against it, but just for the conceptual purpose we have it that way. Coming up next, we have a 3-stage sprocket here. The reason I've kept it this way is because to have a maximum reduction from the motor, so the motor doesn't take much load. Earlier I had heating issues when I was running directly from the motor, but now we have a dual chain drive system and we did not disturb the initial drive. Now last time I checked it, when I was testing it with this orientation, I had a speed of 36 kilometers per hour. The maximum speed was 36 kilometers per hour, and it was pretty impressive. And I did not change gears, so now we have 7 speed here. Now 6 of them are functional, and the 36 kilometers per hour speed was achieved from the first sprocket, which is where the chain is sitting right now. Coming back here, we have a pretty decent arrangement of batteries, and of course we've used zip ties, but earlier it was just a cluster there sitting on top of the bracket, and it was very difficult to put charge and everything. Now looks it's pretty accessible in this case. I'm going to test run that. You will probably see the gear being shifted. So this concludes the basic build of the bike. It was a very good learning, and there is a lot of ways in which we can improve the existing design. And that being said, I'll be uploading a second part of this project where I'll be testing different parameters of the vehicle and would be pushing the bike to its absolute limits to find out the true potential of it. So until then, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for updates, and have a great day.